Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Wrestleview SmackDown Post Show number 5. It's our 5th edition. Hello, everyone. My name is Roy Nemer. I'm your Wrestleview.com SmackDown recapper. Thank you for joining me. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. We're going to be reviewing it all of it together. Take a look at your comments, your thoughts, my comments, my thoughts. What do you guys think of tonight's show? FastLane is in 2 weeks, right? And we're well on our way to WrestleMania as well. I'm going to take a look at the chat really quickly. I see Quentin in there. I see Andrew. I see Jamel. I see Gil's fan. How are you guys doing? Thank you for joining me. And let's get into it. Number one, before we do, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and that's it, right? Let's just get this show on the road. Quentin, hello, Rambling Roy Nemer. How are you, buddy? I hope you're well. All right, so tonight's SmackDown had 6 matches. 6 wrestling matches on SmackDown. That's an average of, 3 an hour? Which is pretty good, right? Very good. Some very good matches actually on the show tonight. Good promo, a lengthy opening segment to kick off the show, and what better way to kick off this show than with that? So first up, we had Michael Cole's in the ring, and he introduces Daniel Bryan to the ring, and it was, like I mentioned, it was a very long promo. So, Bryan says, "Look, I want that title. I want that title. I want to beat Roman Reigns." At one point he tells Michael Cole, "Look, I'll take it from here." So he kicks Cole out of the ring, and it's just straight up Daniel Bryan in your face. And it was such a strong promo, such a strong babyface promo as well. I thought it was really well done. The video package in terms of Edge, when he wins the Elimination Chamber, then he loses to Roman Reigns, and then Edge comes in and spears Roman, and he says, I never felt like a failure as much as I did at that very second. And, at that point, I was half expecting Edge to come down to the ring and interrupt. Edge was not on the show tonight, and I'm going to get to that at the very end, because I did tweet about it. So no Edge tonight, which I actually thought was a good thing. And again, we'll get to that. We'll get to it. So instead, we get Roman Reigns that comes out with Jey Uso and Paul Heyman. Heyman doesn't say a word. We cut to commercial, come back. As I said, it was a long opening segment. And then you get just Roman Reigns saying, you need me. You don't love this business. You need me. I love this business because my family relies on me. The roster, relies on me. The camera crew relies on me. The WWE production crew relies on me. Such a great promo from Roman Reigns. Honestly, I said it before. I said it every week. I know I sound like a broken record. I do apologize. But no one can touch Roman Reigns on the mic right now. He's just on another level altogether. I mentioned Edge, I think it was last week. Edge is up there as well. But, those two, and I guess if you want to throw in Daniel Bryan, but right now I have Roman just kind of edging it. So good on the mic. Like, if you compare Roman Reigns now to the Roman Reigns from, let's say, a year ago, it's night and day. Night and day. It's not even close. Not even close. I'm going to take a look at the chat really quickly as well. Mashoon, hey Mashoon, how are you doing, buddy? Hope you're well. Gil's fan, is it Gil's or Jills? But I want to say Gil's, right? So Gil's fan says half of Brian's promo was from his Talking Smack promo from last week. See, Gil's, I didn't know that. I did not know that. I don't catch Talking Smack every week. I know it airs on Saturday mornings. I have the WWE Network. I don't catch it every week, but I do hear some good things, and whenever I do watch, I'm actually pleasantly entertained. I think Kayla does a good job along with Paul Heyman on there. So I'll have to take your word for it, buddy. Andrew says keeping Edge off was good. I agree. I really agree, and we're gonna get into it as I mentioned near the end of the show. So then we get Jey Uso just interrupts Bryan as he's about to speak, and he tells him this is as close as you're going to get to the Universal Championship because I'm going to take you out and there's no FastLane for you. There's no WrestleMania and blah, blah, blah. And then he tries to get in a cheap shot on Bryan, and Bryan just, like a hip toss type of thing, arm drag takedown, takes him down, throws him to the outside, and we get like a one-on-one face-off between Bryan and Roman, which was just solid. So good. So good. That is money. Money, 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 money. What did you guys think of that? I'm gonna look at the chat once more. Andrew says, at least Roman's not being made to do those silly forced promos anymore. I agree. I totally agree. At one point, it was, and I agree in the sense of if we're talking from a year ago, right? Not this new repackaged Roman Reigns. Totally agree. Jamel Bryan is going to work his way into this match. I think he'll barely take an L to Roman at FastLane, and then we'll beat Edge in a match on SmackDown to earn a spot at Mania. Yeah, see, I agree, and it's not that I disagree. I totally agree, because at this point, I feel like we will get a triple threat match at WrestleMania. I know we spoke about it last week. Are we going to get Bryan and Jey Uso at WrestleMania? What are we going to get? But I think at this point, they're really pushing, and if we don't get Bryan in that main event spot, what else is there for him to do, right? We're about a month and a half away from Mania. They have to figure something out quickly for him if they're not going to include him in that Universal Championship match. So I think it's just they have to. They're going to get him in there somehow. Gills fan says, I agree, Jamel. Edge can pin Bryan, so Roman isn't beaten. We'll get to WrestleMania later on. We'll get to WrestleMania later on to see what gives, but I do agree with Jamel in the sense of I think Bryan, maybe Edge costs Bryan the match accidentally or something, or we get Bryan wins by disqualification, have Edge spear Roman, something, I don't know, but I think we're definitely getting that triple threat match. Definitely getting that triple threat match. Jamal says either the WWE or Universal title will be a triple threat. I see that happening. Yeah, one of those two championships will not be a singles match. That I totally agree. Here is what we had as well. I'm going to put up my tweet, what I put up. Here we go. So I said, great opening to SmackDown, and this is the first time they have the opening segment run through a commercial break. For the longest time, I cannot remember them doing that. Which was kind of cool to see, right? And it didn't feel long. It didn't feel stretched out. You weren't sitting there thinking, when's this gonna end? And no, it felt natural. It really felt naturally. A natural, progression throughout the promo. Roman discrediting Bryan's statement of being ambitious was just a good heel comment. I loved it. Again, once more, saying the whole, you don't love this business, or you don't love this, you need it, and everything, and so good, so good. Here I have it here. He says, Roman says he loves this business. He doesn't need it. He does it because everyone needs him. SmackDown needs him. The roster needs him. The crew needs him. Heyman and Jay, they need him. Roman says Bryan needs him. It's so good. Oh my God. Big fan of Roman Reigns right now. Massive fan of Roman Reigns. I'm going to go to the chat as well just in a second. Once more, just like last week, I'm drinking. This is coffee, right? This is coffee. I'm not stealing Doug's gimmick of this being alcohol. I don't need alcohol to cover SmackDown. It's a really good show. So just bear with me 2 seconds. All right. So I'm going to take a look at the chat as well. Andrew says, honestly, we might end up both being triple threat matches. So Andrew's alluding to the fact that we might get the WWE title in a triple threat match and the Universal title in a triple threat match. Look, with the way the booking's going, who knows? It's very much a possibility, Andrew. I would prefer, I'm kind of an old school kind of guy in the sense of I like my WrestleMania main event to be a one-on-one. If one of them's a triple threat, I wouldn't mind it, but I do want at least one of them to be a one-on-one. Gills fan, the length of Roman's entrance is perfect for a commercial break. It really is. Sometimes I time it. The show starts at 8, but they air their opening promo at like 8:01, 8:02. Roman comes out at 8:02. His entrance is done at 8:04, 8:05. So the first 5 minutes is just kind of nothing type of thing. Jamel says, it's a good way to flip Bryan's words against him. Can't imagine 2014 Roman being able to do something like that at all. And that's what I love. And what was so good about Roman, especially at the beginning, right, when he came back during the summer, I want to say SummerSlam, when he came back, was they stuck Heyman with him, right? So they stuck Heyman with him, and for a while, the promos were kind of 50-50. Heyman takes 50%, and Roman kind of finishes the promo. But it's been a couple of weeks or even a couple of months where it's Roman nonstop. Like, Roman's just on the mic, and he's killing it. He's doing so well. He's grown leaps and bounds. Absolutely love it. Jamel once more, this time to Andrew. He says, especially if the crazy old man isn't happy with how the card is looking so far. Obviously, crazy old man, Vince McMahon, towards the championship matches. And Gil's fan says, face Bryan versus heel Roman is perfect. It is. It is, and this might sound blasphemous, and I say this as an Edge fan, by the way. I'm a big fan of Edge, fellow Canadian as well, type of thing. We have that in common, I suppose. Big fan of Edge. Obviously watched his entire career, but and Brian mentioned this earlier. We said it's the Attitude Era against the Thunderdome, which I found was kind of cheesy, but I understood the concept of Edge versus Roman, and everyone wants to see it. And hey, I'm the first one, I want to see it, but I'm so invested in this Bryan versus Roman Reigns feud that I'd be okay if somehow Edge is not in that main event. Just the figure of speech type of thing, but that's how much I'm liking this Roman and Daniel Bryan feud. Really, really big fan of that. And Quentin says Roman's entrance equals a toilet break. Yeah, I suppose. I don't know. I'm a fan of it. We'll see how long his WrestleMania entrance is going to take. And Andrew says, reviews, yeah, I mean, Vince is blowing it all up. We could see anything. Who knows, right? Who knows what could happen. So that was that. Cut to a commercial break. After that, we got the Street Profits versus Sami Zayn and King Corbin in a match that never really happens. But before I get to that, what was everyone's thoughts on the opening segment? Let me know in the chat. I know we're ongoing. If you guys are watching us on replay, definitely leave a comment. What did you guys think of the opening segment involving Daniel Bryan, Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, and Paul Heyman? Let me know. So we got to commercial break. We got Street Profits versus Sami Zayn, King Corbin, and this I absolutely loved. I very much loved. So you get, Sami Zayn coming out and saying, yeah, last week was a fluke. It's not going to happen when, the Street Profits beat us. And in my head, when I saw that this match was happening, I'm there and I'm thinking to myself, okay, why are we getting a rematch? All right, I'll live with it. Don't get me wrong, I'll live with it. But I'm kind of questioning why are we getting this. And I loved Corbin in this. And I'm not necessarily Corbin's biggest fan. Nothing against him, but I just feel like he's kind of stuck in a limbo. But Corbin comes out and he tells Sami Zayn straight up, look, we're not tag partners. I'm not your partner. I'm a singles competitor. And then he asks one of the Street Profits, you guys want to go one-on-one and we'll fight it out. And then Sami in like a heelish fashion says, no, well, no one ever told me, no one ever mentioned this to me, no, it's a tag team match and this and that. So I love that. I very much loved Corbin coming out and actually showing some character, right? Because last week Corbin was very hesitant and was even borderline against the idea of, or even was against the idea of teaming up with Sami Zayn. So the fact of them having them kind of tag team once more would have been off character. So I really like this. It showed, I don't want to say some character development, but in a way kind of some logic, some common sense from Corbin, which I very much enjoyed. So I really like that. And that was cool. It ends up leading to a Montez Ford versus King Corbin match, and this was a relatively short match, which ended with Corbin getting the win. And it seemed like a bit of a botch, so to speak, towards the end. I don't know if botch is the right word, but at one point, Sami and his camera crew get in Angelo Dawkins' face. Ford sees it, turns around, he hits Corbin with, I believe it's an enziguri, a kick to the head. He hits Corbin with a kick to the head, doesn't seem to affect Corbin. Corbin hits him with End of Days 1, 2, 3. So I'm kind of like, okay, all right, cool, fine. But then after the match, Sami tells him, oh, I helped you win that match and this and that. So I'm not sure if that was a botch or not. Maybe it was just myself. I could be very wrong. I didn't get the chance to go back and watch it. But nonetheless, it was a decent match. It was a good opening match. It was cool. It served its purpose. And that purpose was, actually, believe it or not, came after the match when Sami and Corbin are arguing. And Corbin leaves him high and dry and says, bye-bye, adios. You're out, you're on your own. And then you have Sami throwing, a hissy fit, so to speak. So I'm going to go to the chat really quickly as well. Andrew, so we'll rewind a little bit to the opening segment. Andrew says, honestly, when Brian said he was a new Brian, I thought, oh no, not that Captain Planet once again. I was worried for a moment. Thankfully, that's not the case. Jamel says, I think we get new Roman Reigns music at WrestleMania. I think we do. I think we do. There's been circulation for the past couple of weeks or even months about it, so I kind of do hope we get that. Move away from the Shield. Gills fan says, I thought Roman would have a new theme by now. Same. I thought they'd have it for the Rumble, but I suppose not. Quentin says the Shield is dead for sure, right? They got to move on. Now onto that Sami Zayn, Baron Corbin, Street Profits. So here we go. Jamel says, remember the Knights of the Lone Wolf? Good time. Yeah. Not even good times. Good time because it pretty much just happened once. And they kind of dropped it all together. And no mention of it whatsoever. Andrew agrees. Mashoon says heel versus heel is a good thing. I agree. Heel versus heel could be very good. Same thing for face versus face. Doesn't necessarily always have to be a face versus heel as long as it's done correctly. And this, what they're building up with Sami and Corbin, it's being done correctly. It's being built correctly, and I like it. I'm a fan of it. I'm really very much a fan of it. Gil's fan, did the Knights even make it to 2 weeks? I think they made it to 2 weeks, but it was like they had it 1 week, then they weren't there for 2 weeks, and they had them show up again like a month later, and then it was just one, and then it was just none. So, Jamel says, blink and you missed them. Exactly, literally. So just going to go back here, going back to the match. Here's what I thought. I said I love that I love that Corbin says he's not Sami's partner. He was a heel who did what his character was supposed to do. Good win for him, but that kind of looked like a botched finish with the step up by Ford. Again, maybe it's just me. Let me know. Was it a botch? Did you guys see anything? Or maybe it's just my crazy imagination. It is Friday, long week. Who knows? Maybe it's just me. All right, so here we go. King Corbin defeats Montez Ford, gets the win there. Commercial break. Sami Zayn, Angelo Dawkins, right? Dawkins gets the win. So here's what we get. Dawkins with a jumping, spinning neck breaker, which Corey Graves says he calls that the silencer, and then Cole says I don't think anything could silence Sami Zayn. He goes for the cover. Sami kicks out. Dawkins goes for a back elbow. Sami moves. And Sami with the exploder into the corner. Dawkins in the corner. But Ford gets in the camera crew's face, which distracts Sami. Dawkins rolls him up, gets the win. Sami doesn't come out of this looking bad, by any means at all. Once more, the conspiracy theories could continue with him. It was a logical finish, not bad. And then, a fun match with the conspiracy theories continuing with Sami. I have to say, I'm interested in seeing this Sami and Corbin feud. Let me guys know in the chat, what do you guys think? Are you guys down for a Sami Zayn, Baron Corbin feud heading into either FastLane or continue building this up for another month and a half towards WrestleMania? Jamal says, Sami is such a fun act. Funny enough, Jamel, I was actually discussing this with Mike probably about a month now. I told him, I can't seem to get behind the Sami character. Something about it, wasn't able to put my finger on it. And then, I don't know, we had this discussion where he's like, well, it's a conspiracy theory, and because there's a lot of it going on right now, and I had never really looked at it that way. And then when I did, it kind of clicked in my mind, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna take a look at it from that perspective. And ever since I have, it's been much more enjoyable. Definitely much more enjoyable. Gil's fan, I think people are harsh on Corbin. He does his job as a heel. He does. No, he definitely does, buddy. I agree. I was maybe one of them that was a little bit harsh on him, whereas I very probably should have been harsh on creative rather than him. He's not bad on the mic. He's not bad in the ring. It's just, it feels as if they don't know what to do with Corbin, which I think is the issue. And now hopefully this feud with Sami, leads to something, right? Hopefully. Gil's fan, Sami versus anyone will be great, so I have no problem with the Corbin feud. Yeah, I agree. I'm liking this. And Andrew says it could be interesting. Definitely could be. Who knows, right? Who knows if they have this going on into WrestleMania or just a FastLane. We'll see what gives. Right after that match, we had Reginald, who was backstage with Carmella, and Carmella fires him. Straight up. Just fires him. And storyline wise, probably should have fired him a month ago with everything going on between Reginald and Sasha Banks. But so Reginald's finally fired, but it's not the end of him, not for the night anyways, not by a long shot. And I don't know what they're doing with Carmella, because Reginald, who was supposed to be her assistant, has been consistently getting more airtime than Carmella. I think Carmella's last match was probably a month ago on SmackDown, so it's definitely been a while for her. I don't know if she's injured. I don't know what it is. Obviously, and thankfully, right, it's not COVID, because she is there. She does appear. She's just not wrestling. She's really just not wrestling. So I don't know what's going on with her. I don't know if they're kind of saving her for something for WrestleMania, if they start something after FastLane. I have no clue. Absolutely no clue. Taking a look at the chat. So Quentin says regarding Sami and Corbin, this feud should end at WrestleMania. It needs a proper build-up. I agree. I think letting it, extending it to Mania could be a good thing. Andrew says Milla got a hot minute. Yes. And Shun says poor Reggie. Yeah. Poor guy. But you know what? He's getting some airtime. So it's not that bad. It's really not that bad. But yeah, so Angelo Dawkins gets the win versus Sami Zayn. Cut to a commercial break, and we got Big E next week. Big E comes back next week. And you know what? I'm very happy that they're not overplaying this Big E feud. And what I mean by overplaying is I'm glad that Big E's been off the show for 2 weeks now. Very glad. It makes sense storyline wise, and at the same time you're building up Apollo Crews, who we will get to in just a little bit. But it's the fact that they're not continuously showing us what happened with Big E, right? They aired it twice. They mentioned it twice tonight, but it's cool. It's fine. Intercontinental Champions out injured. Big return next week. Apollo has his promo coming up in a couple of segments, which we'll get to. So that's the announcement. Big E's coming back next week, which I think is a good thing overall. I definitely think it's a good thing. Taking a look at the chat before we go any further. Gills fan, I thought Reginald was trying to get Carmella a title match at FastLane. Now I have no idea what this is. I got something in my head regarding this, and I am petrified, absolutely petrified that it happens. And I'm gonna get to it when I get to this. Bianca versus Shayna Baszler. When we get to that match, I'll mention it. I'm terrified that it happens. Absolutely. And I'll mention what it is. Jamel says, I don't know what the purpose of Reggie is and what's up with Carmella. The meat of Apollo's promo was good, but that damn accent needs to go. And Gills fan, unless it's a triple threat at Mania, if they don't want to turn Sasha heel. I'll get to that, Gills fan. And Jamel, I'm getting to Apollo in a second, buddy. So up next, we got Dominic Mysterio with Rey Mysterio versus Chad Gable and Otis. A surprising win. Very much a surprising win for Dominic Mysterio, because I thought they were going to continue building up Chad Gable and Otis, or continue that momentum, keep that going, but not the case. Dominic Mysterio with a surprising win, with a much needed win. I know a lot of us, if not all of us, in the chat here on the Wrestleview SmackDown Post Show. By the way, if you haven't, please do like, subscribe. We're here 3 times a week, so definitely give us a like, subscribe if you like what you see. But anyway, so as I mentioned, pretty much all of us in the chat have mentioned this on SmackDown Post Show every week, is they got to do something with Dominic, right? He just keeps losing, looks uninterested, bad storylines, needs to get away from his dad. It looks like they're continuing this Mysterio versus Gable and Otis feud. Not the biggest fan, far from it, but it was good to see Dominic get a win, because he desperately needed it. So good for him. Gets a win. Relatively, it was a clean one at that, right? It was a clean one at that. So good for him. Hopefully they kind of build something for Dominic, because it's been a rough couple of weeks, rough couple of months for him. Taking a look at the chat. Gills fan, considering their faces, the Mysterios cheat and cheap shot people a lot. They do, but at the same time, I understand what they did tonight. Gills fan, I understand what they did because Otis was trying to get involved right after the match. Mysterio stepped in, helped his son out, kicked him, kind of, jumped on Otis, took him down on the table, and then ran away and celebrated with Dominic. So I could accept it tonight. But they gotta, something's not working. Something's not working with Dominic, and they gotta take a look at it. They gotta change it up fast. My guess is they hit the restart button after WrestleMania. That's my personal guess. Quentin says Dominic needs this win. He did. He definitely needed it. He also needs to go to NXT. It might not be a bad idea, right? We spoke about this last week. It might not be a bad idea to send Dominic to NXT. It's not necessarily a step backwards. It could be a step forward, right? 2 step forwards, 1 step back type of thing. I don't know. Does that even make sense? Go 2, back 1. Yeah, I guess it makes sense. So maybe NXT is good for Dominic. Who knows? It could be a good thing because Raw and SmackDown hasn't been too kind for him lately. Gil's fan, yeah, tonight was more understandable, but previously it didn't look good. And I agree, for sure. That I totally agree. In previous weeks, wasn't good. It was not a good look for them. But tonight, it made sense. It definitely made sense for them tonight. And Jamel says, Dom has to be shipped off to NXT, like Roy said, after Mania sent him to NXT. It could work. Right, like a surprise shock on NXT where he just shows up and something, anything. I have no clue, but they definitely got to change something up with Dominic. Totally agree. And then we got, I'm gonna need a sip of this. All right, then we get Kayla backstage with Seth. So not a bad Seth Rollins promo involving, Cesaro, saying Cesaro's afraid of him. That's the only reason why he spun him as many times as he did last week, and this and that. And then in comes Murphy, and when I saw Murphy, I'm just Thankfully, Seth told him, get out of my sight, get out of here. I don't want to see you. He just straight up tells him to leave. So that was very much a good thing. And I'm just gonna go back here. We'll take a look, the tweets here. So a much-needed win by Dominic Mysterio. It looks like they are continuing this feud with them, Otis and Gable. Not sure it's good for any of those 4 guys. It looks like they're just continuing it, right? And after that, we had Seth. This whole Vision thing, I just can't get invested in. And Murphy's back. Not sure if that's a good thing or not. I really don't. If they had Murphy back just for tonight, for Cesaro to get the win, I'll accept it. But if we're gonna get Murphy showing up every single week and kind of start begging for forgiveness and begging Seth, I'm sorry, it's gonna be terrible to watch. It will be terrible to watch. So I'm gonna go back to the chat once more. Let's take a look at what you guys think. So Andrew says, like I said, he needs away from Ray as soon as possible. So Dominic needs to step away from Mysterio. I agree. Jamel, it would be stubborn just to keep him on Raw or SmackDown because it's not working. Also move him away from Ray. Andrew, I have no idea what they are doing with Otis and Gable though. Yeah, so I guess the general consensus here is get Dominic away from Raw and SmackDown, away from his dad, send him to NXT. And Andrew says, not sure what they're doing with Otis and Gable. Yeah, they're building them up to be a tag team, which is fine, but they got to shake things up, right? Ziggler and Rude, no appearance by the SmackDown Tag Team Champions tonight, which I don't know what's going on with them. Hopefully they drop the title sooner rather than later with them. But Otis and Gable could be, if somehow booked correctly, and this is me being extremely optimistic, could be a good act. I'm just not holding my breath. That's the only thing. I'm just not holding my breath. Quentin, hey Kayla. Yeah. Gil's fan. So that Murphy Aaliyah storyline was worth our time. I'm happy, and I'm selfish. And Mike, if you're watching this, I do apologize, buddy. I'm sorry. I'm just happy that Murphy and Aaliyah was mostly on Raw more than SmackDown, because that was a strain to watch. That was very difficult to watch. And that was a complete waste of time, Gil's fan. I totally agree. Not worth it. Andrew, Seth is so annoying and Murphy looks lost. Could not have said it any better myself. Friend. Quentin, Seth needs to go to NXT lockdown. You know what? Seth on NXT might not be a bad idea after all. Have him feud with Finn Balor. Have them continue their feud 4 or 5 years later. Mashoon, now Murphy's a heel again. Was he technically ever a babyface? Even when they had him with Aaliyah, was he technically ever a babyface? Was he a tweener? Like, what was going on with him? I don't know. Andrew, Seth to NXT Siberia. Not a bad idea, right? Just don't let the good folks of the UK suffer. Don't keep them away from NXT UK. Gil's fans, so they will not reunite Heavy Machinery or the Iconics, but Murphy and Seth, sure, yeah. Yeah, the Iconics, they dropped the ball on the Iconics. They had something that was very organic, very natural. You know, Peyton Royce, Billy Kay, Australians, best friends. There was no reason to break them up. But anyways. Jamel, so randomly Murphy is back with Seth. Okay, but why? These are the questions that will keep me up at night. Literally. When thinking about wrestling. Or at least the current product. Like, why? Like, what's the point of this? It makes no sense. Gil's fan, maybe it's a sign that Vince should stop breaking every team up. Yeah. The thing is, we have a couple of tag teams now on SmackDown. Chad Gable and Otis. Sadly, or fortunately, I don't know if it's good or bad, I don't see that lasting beyond WrestleMania. I really don't. Street Profits are the best tag team they have right now. And hopefully it lasts because they are driving that tag team division. They really are. They mesh well with everyone. They're good in the ring, great on the mic. Be it Raw or SmackDown, both brands need the Street Profits. So hopefully they don't get split up. And Quentin says Seth Rollins versus Walter. Ooh, I'd pay to see that. I would pay to see Walter beat Seth Rollins up. Nothing against Seth, but you know his character these days. I'm not the biggest fan. So after that, we get a commercial break, and we get Bianca Belair versus Shayna Baszler with Nia Jax. Not a bad match. I'll tell you what though. They mentioned it. I think it was Michael Cole mentioned on commentary that these two faced off in NXT. I never watched them in NXT. I never, I was and still am in and out of NXT. I'll watch 1 week, then I'll miss 2-3 weeks, and I'll watch again. So I never got the chance to really see Bianca Belair versus Shayna Baszler. But from what I saw tonight, not a bad match at all, honestly. Maybe a bit too many acrobatics by Bianca, which is fine. Didn't take anything away from the match, and it's part of her character as well. But as a whole, I thought it was pretty decent. And I'd love to see these two feud. I would absolutely love to see these two feud after Bianca wins the belt at WrestleMania, and I hope Bianca wins the belt at WrestleMania. So big fan of this. What I was not a big fan of, and here comes Ramblin' Roy Nemer, was Sasha Banks. Before I get into Sasha Banks, let me down this. I didn't down it. I'm going to leave some for after. I'm going to need it after the Sasha Banks rant. Before I get into the rant, let me take a look at the chat. So Andrew says, we honestly don't have a tag team division on either show. That's true. We really don't actually at this point. We don't, except for the Street Profits and Otis and Gable and Rude and Ziggler, who are there every once a month. Yeah, Andrew, I'd pay to see Walter versus The Fiend. Walter slapping The Fiend for no selling. That'd be interesting. I don't know if they could book it properly. Probably not, but it'd be interesting. Andrew hoping they turn Sasha at FastLane. I think that's what they're going to do. And I'm going to get to it in a minute. Gil's fan, Naomi and Lana have been number one contenders for over a month, yet Bianca and Sasha have had 2 title shots since. I don't understand this. No one understands it, buddy. No one does. You're not the only one at all. Even Natalia and Tamina backstage earlier tonight said, well, we should be number one contenders. Why is it Sasha and Bianca at FastLane? It makes no sense. Yeah, it makes no sense. Mashoon, another Roy rants on Sasha. I'm going to try and keep this one relatively short, though. I think I let a lot out last week. Let a lot of steam out. This week will be probably a little bit shorter. Quinton, Sasha Banks is bankrupt. She totally sucks. Yeah. And Andrew, Sasha's as annoying as Seth and a horrible face who believes in her own crap. I disagree. Sasha is worse than Seth because Seth is actually tolerable in the ring. Sasha's not. Seth can be decent on the mic. Sasha cannot be. At all. Gil's fan, Sasha's owned 5 at WrestleMania, so unfortunately I think it's Sasha's to retain, or she might walk out again. Let her walk out. Please let her walk out. Please. Like, what? Like, I know when people get angry, they say, I'm going to cancel the WWE network. I'll sign on for another year if Sasha Banks walks out. I'll sign up for another year. I'll give WWE my money for the next 12 months. Just get Sasha off my television. Period. So prior to the match, Sasha Banks comes out and she's at ringside, and Reginald follows her because I don't know, he has this weird obsession with her, and anyways, so I'm gonna go to my tweet, and I did not hate Shayna versus Bianca, a bit much on the acrobatic side by Bianca, but it wasn't a bad match, right? What was and is bad is Sasha. She's extremely annoying and not in a good way. Look. It's bad. She's bad. This whole I'm the boss, and she's like, I understand slapping Reginald, but slapping Reginald and get in my way, stop getting in my way, and stop this and stop that. It's horrible. And what I mentioned earlier, what I'm petrified of, what I'm absolutely scared of for WrestleMania for this is that Reginald or Sasha somehow sides with Reginald, and Reginald costs Bianca, purposely obviously, costs Bianca the match at WrestleMania, turning Sasha heel and keeping the belt on Sasha. I don't want Sasha Banks as the champion past WrestleMania. I don't even want her as champion now, let alone past WrestleMania, especially at the expense of Bianca Belair. Especially. I said it last week, probably said it the week before. I'm going to keep saying it every single week until Sasha Banks drops that freaking title. Bianca Belair is what Sasha Banks thinks Sasha Banks is. Period. Get Sasha Banks off my television. Going to the chat. So, Quinton, Seth and Sasha are on the Titanic. It sunk twice. It did. Andrew, she can leave, go to Hollywood, who really didn't know who she was. Yeah, she's on... Keep her on Disney. Let her be Disney's problem. Disney Plus, that's her problem. Let her be on Disney's problem. That's fine. Jamel, good lord, I'd be pissed if Sasha retains. Everything is set up for Bianca to have a great and glorious moment at Mania. Don't let Sasha spoil it. Unfortunately, man, it's probably gonna I hope not, but there's a possibility of it happening. Andrew, even Bianca was like, what are you doing out here? Exactly. It made no sense. She's scouting who? She's scouting Bianca. She's scouting, Shayna. Fine. Opponent at WrestleMania. Opponent at FastLane. Scout them. But, don't get pissed at Reginald. Reginald, if you really think of it, he was out there. He didn't really do much to Sasha, right? Anyways. Jamel, Roy dislikes Sasha almost as much as Doug dislikes Will Ospreay or Kyle O'Reilly or the Young Bucks. Who doesn't dislike the Young Bucks? Honestly. Gil's fan, only Big Swole in AEW is the worst babyface than Sasha. There's nothing likable about her at all. Quentin, can someone please answer this question? What the heck is boss time? I say this, toss the boss. I like that's actually a good one. Toss the boss, Quentin. That's a good one. I don't know what boss time is. I genuinely don't. Boss time? Boss for me was the big boss, man. I don't know about Sasha Banks. The boss of what? Honestly speaking, the boss of what? Of being insufferable on the mic? Of injuring her colleagues in the ring? The boss of what? You want to take your ball and run home? Right? You want to lose your smile? Do it. Please do it. Leave. You don't even have to come back. And I hope she's that Hall of Fame worthy signing that AEW is promising. I hope it is. I know it's not. I know legally it's not. I hope it is. Ship her off to Wednesday nights. And even Wednesday nights is too good for her. Andrew, what if they throw Mela in a triple threat? Yeah, that could happen. Throw Mela in the triple threat. That's actually not a bad idea. Have Bianca pin Carmella to save Sasha. Although I'd prefer a one-on-one where Bianca just straight up pins Sasha. I'd prefer that very much. And Andrew says only AEW marks like the Bucks. Yeah, literally. And Gil's fan, the Young Bucks are horrible faces as well. I can't tolerate them. I genuinely cannot tolerate them. Quinton, Sasha is twice as terrible as the Tedesco's curtains. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. And I hope Mike and Victoria are watching this or listening. That's a very good one. All right. So let's keep it going. All right. So then we got Murphy versus Cesaro, who, I questioned Murphy earlier. And again, if he's only here for this week, I'll accept it as long as he's not back next week. So they're building up Cesaro, and they're building him up very well, right? Once more, I think it was last week, and now again this week, Cesaro doesn't speak on the mic. Doesn't speak on the mic, and I think for as much hate as we, myself included, give Seth, I thought he did a good job on commentary tonight. I really think he did a good job because he's a better mouth. I was gonna say he's a better mouthpiece, but that's not what I was trying. That's not what I want to say. But he's better on the mic than Cesaro, right? And if you could hype up Cesaro without having to have Cesaro necessarily speak every week, that does more good than harm. I love Cesaro, I truly do, and I want to see him as champion. But unless they put a mouthpiece for him or with him, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult for him on the mic. He's not the best on the microphone, right? I think we could all agree on that. But I really thought Seth did a decent job on commentary tonight, at least hyping up Cesaro. Andrew says, guess Cesaro versus Seth at Mania. Not sure if FastLane. Yeah, I would think it's more at Mania than FastLane. I would think so, and I hope so. And I hope it ends with Cesaro getting the win. I truly hope so. Looking at this here, so a good win by Cesaro. I forgot Murphy even existed, but they are building up Cesaro and Seth properly. And that's what I like about this, is that, they're not in every single segment. It's not being shoved down our throats. I think they're doing a pretty good job. So I'm a fan of this feud so far. I think the match itself, eventually, be it Fastlane or Mania, although I am hoping it will be WrestleMania, I think could be a good match. I really think could be a good match. And as long as Cesaro wins it, I'm happy. I'm genuinely happy as long as Cesaro wins that one. What do you guys think of the chat? What do you guys think of this? Of Cesaro, of Murphy, of Seth Rollins? I'm going to go to the chat really quickly. So Andrew says, I think Kevin Dunn hates his voice, or at least I heard Dunn has a problem with people's voices. Yeah, could be. I've heard that. Could be. Gil's fan, that's why I was disappointed that Cesaro didn't reunite with Sammy when he returned. You know what? I get your disappointment. I understand it, but I think Cesaro's better off now. I think they've gone to the point where they've had Cesaro with so many tag teams, so many feuds, that he needs that feud with an established name, right? And Seth Rollins, whether we like it or not, is an established name. I'm not hating on him. I'm really not. I'm really not, because I don't think he's as bad as we make him out to be. But he's an established name, right? Main eventer, WrestleMania main eventer, and everything. So I think this is the perfect time for Cesaro to get that big name feud, so to speak, right? Gil's fan, he hated Becky's as well before she had that man gimmick. To be fair to Kevin Dunn, Becky's gimmick before the man was difficult to get behind at one point, especially near the end. Jamel, where's Nakamura? That's a very good question. They kept him off television again. My guess is he probably comes back maybe next week, have him involved in that Intercontinental title feud. I hope so anyways, because they pushed Nakamura for a couple of weeks, right? That gauntlet match and everything, and then it just kind of died down, and to the point where he wasn't even on the show tonight. I don't know if it's a matter of less is more with him, but they, WrestleMania season. We are in WrestleMania season. They got to get something going for him. They definitely do. Jamel, Cesaro seems like the perfect first post-Mania contender for either Universal or WWE title. Yes, I agree. But depending who it is, I would probably hold off until SummerSlam, because I want Cesaro to win. If you have Cesaro versus, let's say it's McIntyre on Raw. If you have Cesaro versus McIntyre after Mania, I think it's going to be a great feud, a fantastic match. But Cesaro needs to win. Cesaro needs to win. If you have Cesaro against, be it Edge, Roman Reigns, or Daniel Bryan, Cesaro needs to win. If you're pushing Cesaro this much, finally for the first time, you got to let him have the win. Like, it's now or never. It's either he wins the championship now or he never wins it. Similar to Kofi Kingston, what they did a couple of years back. If Kofi doesn't beat Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania, that was it for him. I feel like Cesaro's in a similar boat. I feel like it. Andrew Nakamura has really dropped. He might need to go back to Japan. I don't know if going back to Japan is the answer. I feel like there's a place for him, but I just feel like they don't know what to do with him. That's the issue. And maybe sending him back to NXT, but I feel like he's too good for NXT. I feel like Nakamura is too good for NXT, and they just don't know what to do with him on the main roster. That's my issue. Quentin, have Cesaro go on a journey to chase for the championship to SummerSlam. That I would love. Yeah, that I agree. Have Cesaro chase the title up until SummerSlam. Have him win the belt at SummerSlam. Hopefully, with an audience as well. Similar to what we're going to get at WrestleMania. Could be a good thing. Could definitely be a good thing. So, that was Cesaro who got the win versus Murphy. Then we get to Apollo Crews. Not a bad promo. I didn't think it was a bad promo. But something happened in this promo that we mentioned last week, that we would hope would not happen, happened. I don't know if that even made sense, if you guys followed. But last week we spoke about, Apollo Crews when he had that, I want to say Nigerian. I'll go with Nigerian, obviously, because they're pushing him as Nigerian. Where he had that Nigerian accent. Except he had only used it for 1 or 2 lines last week. This entire promo, he was speaking with an accent. Again, it wasn't a bad promo. But he doesn't need the accent. He really doesn't. Okay, they gave him a new look. The white, the green, the Nigerian colors. That's cool. They had 2 men in army uniforms with them. All right, if they keep that with him going for a while, it could work, especially if they're pushing him as a heel. But just drop the accent. There's no need. There's no need for the accent at all. At all. They established it last week, established it more this week. He's a descendant of Nigerian royalty. He's a real African American. Okay. And, when he was young, his father would tell him stories about these gods and this and that. So we have a backstory to this, which was started last week and I guess continued on this week. And then he finally gets to Big E. He tells, Big E, you're coming back next week and that makes me happy because I'm a changed man. I have demands and I demand a rematch for the Intercontinental title and this and that. So it wasn't a bad promo. It was pretty good. Just drop the accent. There's no need. There's no need. We're not getting another Kofi Kingston Jamaican accent. Please stop with this. Taking a look at the chat. Andrew, Jamel, and Mashoon all say ditch the accent. All of them, all of you guys, and I agree, fellas. There's no need for the accent. Quentin as well, right? So Quentin says, I love Apollo, but that accent is cringeworthy. It really is. Gil's fan, it was like listening to Lana a year or 2 ago. The old Apollo voice kept randomly reappearing. Oh God. Yeah, it was like that Lana where 1 week she had the Russian accent, the next week she didn't, and then she did, and then she didn't, and oh boy, that was bad. Andrew accent is so insulting. It is. There's no need for it. There's really no need for it. We're not in this Not saying it would have been any better, but we're not in this early 90s or early mid 90s cartoonish character in the WWF or WWE where you get Apollo Crews with an accent. There's no need for it, right? At all. Quentin, it's twice as bad as Kofi Kingston's Jamaican accent. Yeah. That was bad. That was bad. I don't know. This is, again, it was a good promo. It was just bad with the accent, period. All right. So next week we're getting Big E coming back, the Intercontinental title. Then we're getting, I'm hoping, or looks like obviously we're going to get some sort of feud. So Big E, Apollo Crews. Who knows if Nakamura comes back next week. Maybe they have Nakamura versus Apollo Crews at FastLane. The winner faces Big E at WrestleMania. And then, unfortunately for Nakamura at WrestleMania, they have him in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal or something. I don't know. Something. But that could happen. That could happen. So, after the Apollo Crews promo, we cut backstage very briefly to Adam Pearce and Sonya, along with Natalya and Tamina. And, they mentioned about how, why aren't they in the Women's Tag Team Championship match at Fastlane? Why is it Sasha and Bianca? And Adam says, well, it's the decision that was made, and he walks away, and it makes no sense because it's a valid question by Natalya, both from a creative standpoint and from a fan's perspective. It makes sense, right? Why? And Adam's decision or Adam's answer is just, it's the decision. Yeah, but it doesn't make sense. Why do I have to see Sasha Banks on television? Why? No sense at all. Anyways, then Kayla's backstage with Jey Uso, and she's asking him about tonight's match, and then Daniel Bryan attacks him from behind. So we're getting a much edgier Daniel Bryan. He mentioned it at the beginning of the show. Proof is in the pudding, right? He attacks Jey from behind, setting up the main event. But before we get to that, let's go back to the chat. Gil's fan, does Vince think you can't be Nigerian without the accent? I don't know. I don't know. I can't tell you, man. It makes no sense with these. It makes no sense. Andrew, typical Vince. Yeah. Gil's fan, Natalya just turned face because she was speaking for the people. Yes, she was. Can't believe I said that. Natalya turned face. Oh boy. Look, I like Natalya, by the way. I'm not hating on her. Just her character is bland, to say the least. But it makes sense why they still keep her around, especially for the young women coming up and teaching them and everything. But she literally turned face. She spoke for us. Like, why? What's the point of having Sasha Banks? Anyways, enough of that. Enough negativity. Enough of that. So going back to this, let's go back to the tweet. So this was not a bad promo by Apollo Crews, but they better not continue with his accent. It's obviously fake and no need for it. Keep the look, but forget about the accent. Seriously, the look is there. Fine, you want to keep his bodyguards. That's cool. Just drop the accent. There's no point. There is no point. Anyways, then we get an extremely short ding dong hello with Bayley, which I've grown to like in the past couple of weeks. I've really grown to like these segments. I've learned to enjoy seeing Bayley again on television, because at one point it just became too much, especially with the Becky two belts, Bayley two belts, sorry, or Bayley dos straps, right? Bayley dos straps. Speaking of accents, Bayley dos straps. No, that's really bad. Sorry, guys. So at one point that was very difficult to watch, but it's good. I'm enjoying this ding dong hello. This one was really short, and so just really quickly, she says she's debuting a new segment called Sweet Tweets, where she reads nice tweets about her show. So she literally reads 2 tweets praising herself, and the third one she looks at the cue card, and then she looks at someone in production or someone, and she's just not happy, stands up, and I love her for this. She literally opens her door and just slams it and stands behind the door, because you don't see her walking anywhere. So that was really enjoyable. And my question is, who wrote that tweet, or who mixed up her cue card, so to speak, right? Who added that third tweet, that third cue card? Was it Carmella? Was it someone else? What are they doing with her? Because this could be the start of a feud, and we're a month and a half away from WrestleMania. So, if it's someone they're bringing back, is it Naomi? Is it I don't know. Someone, I have no clue what's going on. They're bringing someone back to have Bayley feud going into WrestleMania. I don't know. What do you guys think? Who do you think it could be? Who do you think it could be? I'm gonna take a look at the chat really quickly. Let's see what we got here. So Quinton says, I love this edgy Daniel Bryan. I do too. And it's something sometimes that's missing from the baby faces, from the good guys. It's that edginess. Because just because you're a good guy doesn't mean you can't be tough and show some attitude. And then they're finally doing this with Daniel Bryan. So I'm really happy with that. Jamel, a bland heart. What a surprise. You're lucky my name is Roy Nemer and not Paul Nemer, Jamel. Andrew, face with an attitude doesn't hurt. Exactly. So a bland heart. Mashoon, still Karen. Yeah. Andrew, I want Billy to challenge Cole 1 week to a match at Mania. That'd be funny. That would be hilarious. That would be quite funny. Gills fan, Bayley deserves a WrestleMania match. She does. Honestly, she was the face of the women's division this entire year up until September or so, when Sasha ended up winning the belt. So Bayley, really led that division, and she deserves a WrestleMania match. Against who, I don't know, but she held that. She deserved it. Sorry, deserves it. Quentin, please call her Karen. Yeah, I'll call her Karen on that. Jamel, SmackDown Women's Title match would have been so much better for Bayley versus Bianca. Yeah, this would be a billion times better. A mop versus Bianca would have been better. But seriously, Bayley versus Bianca could have been a lot of fun, especially with those Hello Ding Dong segments and all that stuff, because they're both actually good or tolerable on the mic, whereas Sasha's not. Gills fan, perhaps it was Billy's resume. That could be. I didn't think of that. Maybe it's Billy Kay, but I don't know if they'll have Billy Kay with actually, that's not a bad idea. I forgot they had that last week. You're right, Gills fan. You have a better memory than I do. Maybe it's Billy Kay. Speaking of Billy Kay, no Riot Squad this week. No Liv Morgan, no Ruby Riot, which I want to say is a good thing. Nothing against both women, but if they're just going to keep losing every week, no point of having them on the show. All right. And that sets up the main event of the evening. A very physical match, by the way. So, steel cage match, Daniel Bryan versus Jey Uso. If Bryan wins, he faces Roman Reigns at FastLane for the Universal Championship. So, a couple of things I liked in this match. One, it was physical. It really was. And, sometimes you get these cage matches where you either get a lot of moves and very little interaction with the cage, or you get a lot of interaction with the cage and not too many moves. This one was probably like 65-70%, a lot of hits on the cage, right? And the rest, let's say 30-35%, you got some wrestling in there. So that's something I enjoyed, because Daniel Bryan showed edginess. He attacked Jey Uso before the match. Jey Uso's Jey Uso, right? Main event Jey and all that stuff. So he has that edginess to him for the past couple of months now as well, or 6 months now, right? Half a year. So for them to go into this match and for it to be brutal and very physical is what you would expect. And I absolutely loved it. I very much enjoyed it. Something else I enjoyed was, Jey's in control early on, and right away, he has that common sense, that logic, which sometimes is missing in a match, especially in a cage match or a stipulation match, where he beat up on Daniel Bryan, and he's like, you know what, I'm going to try and escape the cage. I'll go through the door early on in the match, which I liked. Sometimes you don't always see that. So some big bumps, some good kicks, some good hits against the cage. It was a solid main event. I very much enjoyed this one. Very, very much enjoyed it. And, I think it was kind of, I'll say obvious in the sense that Bryan was going to win this one. But another part of me kept thinking, well, we haven't seen Edge all night. Does Edge show up and maybe accidentally or not, but does Edge show up and cost Bryan the match? Right? Because they didn't mention Edge all night long, and it easily could have, you easily could have had Edge just come in as a surprise and boom. Maybe he tries to help Daniel Bryan and it backfires or something, right? That easily could have happened, but it didn't. It didn't. You had Bryan get the win. Jey Uso did not look bad, by the way, at all. Despite the fact that he lost, he didn't look bad. He grabbed the ropes at the end with the yes lock. Obviously, in a cage match, the ropes, there's no rope break, right? So he looked good in that. I'm happy. It was a good match. Bryan got the win. We're getting Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns at FastLane. I don't know what's gonna happen at FastLane. I'm just gonna go to the chat really quickly, see where we're at here. So a couple of us are still on the Bailey and Bianca stuff. That's cool. That's fine. So Quentin says, 2 mops versus Bianca. I'll take that over Bianca versus Sasha. Gills fan says the Riot Squad are the only real women's team they have, yet they constantly job. That's what doesn't make sense. If you have them win, sure, I have no problem with that, because I don't think they're terrible in the ring. But the fact that they're constantly losing, it makes no sense. Gills fan, let's go mop. 2 mop Karens versus Bianca, says Quentin. Andrew, glad getting that match instead of Daniel and Edge as partners versus Roman and Jey. Yeah, I was fearing that. I was fearing we would get Daniel Bryan and Edge versus Roman Reigns and Jey Uso at Fastlane. I really thought it would be a possibility for a second. I'm glad that's not happening. Very, very glad. Mashoon, 2 mops have more personality than Sasha. Yeah. Stating the obvious, but yes. Quentin, Karen, 2 mops. Yeah. That as well. And Gills fan, it was nice of Corey Graves to explain that new concept main event match to us idiots. Yeah, so before the match, we had Corey Graves in the ring, and he's hyping up the steel cage match, and he was like, well, the only way you could win by pinfall, escape the cage through the door, or climb the cage. That's the only way. So I'm like, all right, I get it. You're explaining it to us. That's cool. Maybe you might have some new audience. That's fine. But something I didn't get, and I guess it was me, was when they had that cameraman all the way at the top of the cage. I legitimately thought we were getting that cameraman at the top of the cage throughout the entire match, because that could have made for some cool camera angles. So I was hoping we'd get that throughout the match. It wasn't the case. He was just there, just at the top, just to show us initially, how high up it could be. And you know what? It was during this cage match specifically, because I get this at least once or twice, be it during Raw or be it during SmackDown, but I guess more SmackDown, where I'm like, I wish there was an audience. And like, I know I'm stating the obvious, and I know I'm not the only one, but an audience for this match could have been so fun, so good. Roman at ringside, some big bumps in there. It could have added so much more to the match. Credit to both guys, honestly. Credit to Jey, credit to Daniel Bryan. That was a solid main event. Very much enjoyed it. So in the end, we got Daniel Bryan that gets the win. Jamal says WWE constantly explaining match rules we've literally been seeing for decades is annoying. Gills fan, but if he fell, it would have been a disaster. Yeah. So going back to Jamal for a second, it is annoying. It's extremely annoying, but a part of me kind of understands it, especially if they're going to be on Peacock and they've been promoting it. So if you have someone that's not a regular WWE viewer, probably never really watched the product, that's tuning in to see, maybe saw an advertisement or an ad, I don't know. So part of me understands it, but at the same time, for sure, like, it's a cage match. It's not that difficult to escape the cage, right? Gills fan, but if you felt it would have been a disaster, yeah. So alluding to the cameraman at the top of the cage, it would have been a disaster for sure. No, I agree, and it makes sense why they didn't keep him there. I just thought it would have been a cool idea just to have that camera from the top. They obviously do it sometimes for ladder matches or TLC matches where they have a camera, from the very top and you see everything. Could have been nice to have that for this main event as well. Gills fan, WWE treats the audience like children. To be fair to them, not that I disagree, but to be fair, a lot of their audience are kids, right? It is children. So from a business standpoint, I understand it, but for someone that's been watching wrestling their entire life, yeah, it gets a little bit annoying, but it's all right. It's okay. Andrew, Roy, do you think we get some kind of audience after Mania for live shows? You know what, Andrew? That's a very good question. I think for the big pay-per-views, so WrestleMania and SummerSlam, because those are the next big two coming up, I think we get an audience for SummerSlam. I truly think we get an audience for SummerSlam. I don't know if we'll get an audience for the pay-per-views in between. I don't know. I hope we do. But I think and hope that we get at least for SummerSlam. And by summertime, with COVID and everything, and I don't know if the numbers are going down or going up in certain areas, but who knows, maybe by SummerSlam or by summertime or fall, we might be able to get some fans back in the arena. Probably not the 15 and 20,000 that we've become accustomed to throughout our entire lives, but 1,000 or 5,000 or something, maybe for the pay-per-views. I think that's what they're gonna do, and this is just my personal guess, basing this off absolutely nothing. But I think we get fans for WrestleMania, fans for SummerSlam, and then after SummerSlam, I think we might get fans, or gradually start getting fans for pay-per-views, and then after pay-per-views, I guess we'll get them, or hopefully get them for Raw and SmackDown. That's me. I don't know if it's wishful thinking or what, but I hope we get that. I hope we get that. All right. Let me know. What do you guys think? Andrew, what do you think? Gil's fan, Jamel, Quinton, Mashoon. What do you guys think? Do we get an audience after WrestleMania? Because we've gotten used to seeing fans, especially after like the Raw and SmackDown after WrestleMania. That week is oof. It always delivers. There's always something. So to have a crowd there would be very interesting if possible. Very interesting. So going back to the tweets, so I tweeted out a very physical cage match. It was a fight and a great way to end the show. Jay looked strong out there despite losing. No Edge, which was good too. No need to have him on every show. So I did speak about Edge, about how he wasn't on the show at the beginning of the SmackDown Post Show. And I think it's a good thing. There's no need to have Edge show up tonight, even for a promo. I don't think it could have added more than what was already added on the show. I don't think so. I think Brian did an excellent job tonight. Roman did an excellent job tonight. Jay did a fantastic job tonight. All of them did really well. So to have Edge there probably would have been overkill, and save him. There's no reason. I know Edge wants to be a full-time guy, and he is a full-time guy, and nothing wrong with that. But gradually bring him back. No need to have him on every show. If he's there next week, great. If not, hey, you don't have Edge on for 2 weeks, have him come back the week after, boom, right? Make the fans want something. So, no Edge tonight. I thought he'd show up in the opening segment when Brian said, oh, everyone wants to see Edge versus Roman Reigns except for me. I thought Edge was going to show up there. In the main event at one point, I thought, well, you know what? They haven't mentioned Edge much, if at all, if any, throughout the night. Maybe have Edge show up in the main event. Like I was thinking that at one point, and they didn't, and I'm happy with that. I'm cool. And the reason why is because now this gives them the chance to build up FastLane before WrestleMania. Because we're still a month and a half away from Mania, and you could easily burn through a lot. By the time WrestleMania comes around, you're there and you're like, oh, I'm kind of sick and tired of this feud. So they're not going that way, or at least based off tonight, they're not. Why? Because they're building up to FastLane. Then hopefully from FastLane, obviously they build up to WrestleMania instead of just kind of forgetting about FastLane and building up from WrestleMania from now. Again, that's just my opinion, right? So going back to the chat, so Mashoon says, I said, yeah, a live crowd. Okay, you think we'll get a live crowd? Andrew, if they do, it's definitely going to be small crowds. Yeah, I think at first it has to be small crowds, and logically speaking, and for safety reasons, I think it makes the most sense. Gil's fan, I worry that Vince and Co like controlling the crowd reaction too much to have regular fans. You know what? I agree, but it might be to their advantage to have the regular fans, because we as fans have been deprived, not of good content, because I honestly think the content isn't as bad as people make it out to be, but we're like, if we have regular fans in there, like seeing a DDT might get someone out of their seat, because people will be excited. people will be excited that they could literally throw shit to the wall or shit onto the mat, and like people will get excited over it just because we've been deprived of actual live reactions, live crowds. So maybe for them, having regulars might be better, might be a good thing. Or in my opinion, it would be a good thing. It'd definitely be a good thing. Quinton, why not have some people at the weekly shows like NXT? It doesn't need to be a big crowd. I agree. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be a big crowd. It doesn't have to be 1,000 people, even just 100. If you're in a small arena, kind of space them out. Similar, I guess, to what they did at the Performance Center, but with an actual paying audience rather than talent. That could work. That could work. Similar to what they're doing in NXT, right? Very, very similar to that. Gills fan, they still have the fake crowd noise despite having fans in NXT. Correct me if I'm wrong, Gills fan, or anyone actually. The crowd in NXT, it's talent, right? It's WWE or NXT talent. It's not paying customers. But yeah, they still have the fake crowd noise, which doesn't. I don't know why they're doing that with NXT and doing the Thunderdome, or I guess it makes sense from a marketing point of view. But the sooner they get to the paying audience, the better. Because honestly, like I said, I don't think the content has been as bad as most people make it out to be. I truly don't think so. I don't think so. And who knows how it's gonna be. I'm super psyched for WrestleMania just for the simple fact that we're gonna have paying fans. The fact that it's not gonna be regular talent that's gonna be there as fans. It's fans of wrestling, fans of WWE. They're gonna be there. So the emotions we're gonna get will be genuine, which is always a good thing. So Andrew says, think it's a mix but not a paying crowd though. Okay, that for NXT, I'm guessing, Andrew. Okay, maybe it could be both. I really don't know. Gills fan, just get green shirt guy and the signed guy to sit in the front row. And it's actual fans, although it could be a mix. Okay. Again, I don't know for NXT what it is. You guys are informing me. I'm being honest. You guys are informing me. I don't know. But it adds more. Just even if it's a small crowd, it's fine. 100 people, 500 people, whatever it is. It adds something to the matches, something to the event. So taking a look really quickly, just to end this all up. So we had 6 wrestling matches on SmackDown, and you love to see it. Storylines advancing for not only FastLane but WrestleMania 2. Seth was tolerable, and even Sasha couldn't ruin this show. That's how much I actually enjoyed this show. The fact that we got wrestling matches, we got 6 of them, and for the most part, they were all good. There wasn't a single wrestling match on there where I looked at it and said, that was a bad match. At all. I thought it was all of them were very good, and not even Sasha Banks could ruin it. What did you guys think of the show? Let's take a look at the votes. I already voted, so it's going to take me right to the results. Drum roll, please. 82.6% gave this show a thumbs up. 17.4% didn't. I'm assuming and I'm hoping the 17.4% who gave this show a thumbs down was merely because of Sasha Banks. I truly hope so, because I think for the most part it was a solid show. It was a good show. It really, really was. And even if there was an option of a thumbs in the middle, which there isn't, but even if there was, you have to be leaning more towards a thumbs up than a thumbs down, right? On a wrestling show, you get 6 matches. All of them were, decent to good, including a solid main event. I don't know how you could give the show a thumbs down. I really don't. I'm hard pressed to think of a reason. So what did you guys think in the chat? What did you guys think of SmackDown? Andrew, SmackDown thumbs up, and this show thumbs up. Thank you, buddy. Thank you, Andrew. Very much appreciated. You guys are a thumbs up. I mention it every week, and I truly mean it. I'm not saying it for the cameras or for whatever. I truly mean it. I love doing the show. I love interacting with you guys. I really do. It's fun. If you guys are watching us on repeat on YouTube, leave a comment. I love reading the comments as well. So looking at the chat really quickly, Quinton, this show was awesome. 69 thumbs up. All right, Gills fan, a thumbs up. Mashun, a thumbs up. Quinton, post show, 101 thumbs up. And you know what? That extra 1 is because of you guys. I'm being honest. I very much look forward to doing this show every single week. I love it. I very much enjoy it. Love talking to you guys. Love interacting. Love our talks. I really do. I really do. Gills fan, great show, Roy. Thank you, buddy. Hope to see you around more often. Really, truly hope so. We're here every Friday. Quentin says Sasha and Seth, thumbs down. Yeah. I'll give a mediocre thumbs in the middle, more towards thumbs down, but Sasha's definitely a thumbs down. Definitely a thumbs down. Definitely. So yeah. So glad you guys liked the show. Glad you guys enjoyed this show. Once more, I love doing the show. Love talking to you guys. We're here 3 times a week, right? I do the Wrestleview SmackDown Post Show. I'm gonna try and get a guest for next Friday. I can't make any promises, but I'm hoping to get a guest or someone I have in mind. But stay tuned. I guess for a guest co-host for next Friday. We have Wrestleview Weekly on Sunday, right, with Mr. Doug. And then on Monday, we have the Raw Post Show with Mike and Victoria Tedesco. So we have Mike, our Raw recapper, excellent job with the first lady of Wrestleview, right? Victoria Tedesco. Give them a watch, right? So like I said, Sunday, Monday, Friday, we have a lot of content for you guys, a lot of stuff coming up as well. This is something I probably should not have said, but it's our little secret. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe. Thank you guys. Gills fan, thank you, Roy. I'll be back. Excellent, buddy. Looking forward to it. Honestly, very, very much looking forward to it. Quentin, hit the like and subscribe. Mashun, can you get Doug Lackey on the show? We'll see. I have someone in mind. I can't say who it is. Maybe it's Doug. Maybe it's not. I can't. For legal purposes. No, I'm joking. Not for legal purposes. But I don't want to promise anyone just yet. But I am working on getting someone, a co-host for next Friday. So definitely. Quentin, check out the Eastside Review YouTube channel, Jamel. There you go. That one as well. For Jamel. My name is Roy Nemer. Someone mentioned this on the first 2 shows. Someone said, "Bring it home, Roy." So I'm bringing it home. My name is Roy Nemer. I'm your Wrestleview.com SmackDown recapper. I hope you enjoyed SmackDown. I hope you enjoyed this post show. I love recapping SmackDown. I love doing this show. I love interacting with you guys. Thank you very much. Next week, the build-up continues to FastLane and WrestleMania. That's all I got. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button. Follow us on Wrestleview or at Wrestleview on Facebook as well. I'm on Twitter at Roy Nemer. Although full disclosure, 99.9% of my tweets are fully football or soccer related tweets. But anyway, so my name is Roy Nemer. It's enough rambling on. Thank you guys for joining me. Always a pleasure, and pleasure's all mine, honestly speaking. Love you guys. Be safe. Take care. And I'll talk to you guys next week. Have a good one, everyone. Bye. Bye, guys.